Sorry, June 15th, 2026. I'm assuming it's close to 6. It's probably 6:01. What do we get for official time? 6:02. We're going to call to order for the Winthrop Town Council meeting. Andy just showed up. We've got Roy, Shannon, and Aaron, and Linda, I guess, is on her way in, and Zach still will be late. But let's start off with the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you, everybody. Good evening, Linda.
You gotta go solo to the flag.
All right, so, yeah, what we're gonna do is we're gonna skip down, because nice folks are here. We're gonna jump down to items 110, the public hearing for a Tavern on the Hill 305 special amusement permit renewal application. And then we're gonna open the public hearing at 6:03.
Anybody can speak on it.
Come up to the podium if you would, please. Yes. Yeah, well,
Good practice.
yeah.
Tavern on the Hill, we have music Sunday, Monday, and Wednesday, and would like to continue to do so.
Great. Anybody on the council have questions?
Just doing the same thing you've been doing.
Yeah.
All right. I don't see any issues. So thank you. Let's close the public. I'm gonna get wind going here. We're gonna close it at 6:04. Thank you, sir. Then we're gonna open up items 111, consideration of special amusement permit renewal application from Tavern on the Hill.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the special amusement permit renewal application for Tavern on the Hill.
Second.
Any other discussion? All in favor? All are in favor. Thank you, guys. All right, we're going to jump to items 112. It's a public hearing for TJ's special amusement permit application. We're going to open up that public hearing at 6:04. Guys want to come up to the podium? Don't want you to be left out. Good evening, guys.
Good evening, Kelly and TJ from TJ's Pizzeria, TJ's Place.
Great.
And we have not had a permit yet, and we do not have music on any specific days. Like, it's not like every Wednesday or every Saturday, but we do have music.
Is it amplified? Or is it just like acoustic or is it indoors?
We have both.
Both, yeah.
I don't know, because they bring their own equipment.
Would have to say it is acoustic. I mean, I'm sorry, amplified.
Yeah, how late do you normally?
We're closed at 10, they're done by 9:30.
It's usually 6 to 8, but that doesn't mean it is not going to be 7 to 9 at some point. It's been inside because our weather hasn't cooperated with us to do it on the patio.
Usually 9:30, 10 o'clock, we're done.
Any other questions?
Is this the inside or outside?
Both.
Both.
We'll do both, but we haven't had it outside yet this year because the weather has not cooperated when we've had musicians scheduled.
I hope you get some good weather.
I hope so too, for all of us.
Yeah, well, I was just going to ask, have you spoken to your neighbors on the other side of you, or have you heard from them at all?
Any complaints from anybody?
We had music last year. I didn't know if we were supposed to do this or not. No one told me if we were supposed to, so I apologize if we
It's all right.
didn't do it. But we had music several times last year throughout the summer and
No, perfect.
nobody, we've talked to the gentleman that owned the farm kind of behind us,
Yep,
but that's not really a house. I think that's just,
right, they do special events too. So,
yes, they
yep.
do special events. So the house right before us, Cottonwar's house, I think is the closest one.
Yeah, that's one I was referring to.
But no one's ever come to us and said anything.
Are you guys familiar that we did pass a new ordinance for something like this just recently? Just want to make sure you're read up on it. There's
I
nothing.
have not read up on it. We got the thing in the mail, so that's how I
Okay.
knew that I had to do something.
Wonderful, wonderful. Yeah, and I don't think it's too very restrictive. There's not much to it, but I just wanted you to, I don't think so either, but I just wanted you to be aware of it and read it. So you just have the guidelines. That's all. So I don't have it in front of me to recite it to you, but just take a peek at it. I think you guys are going to be just fine. But, so great. No other questions? All right, we're going to close the public hearing at 6:07.
Motion that we special amusement permit.
Second.
Got a motion, got a second. Any other questions? All right, all in favor? All are in favor. Thank you, guys.
All right, thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Good evening. Okay. Yes. Yes, there is. I
Anthony would be the one to ask.
believe it's $25 fee, is it?
Yeah, so you can go to the front desk anytime this week and they'll take care of you there. Good. So, Mr. Chair, I might suggest that we hold off on approving the budget until Zach's here. I think
Okay.
it'd be appropriate to have
Yeah.
the full council here for that. But we do have some folks from the library here
Okay.
to discuss the capital projects. And we also have John Longfellow online
Wonderful.
as well.
So let's jump to items 101. Discussion and consideration of the following public library capital projects tabled from June 1st, 2026 meeting.
Yeah, so you folks will remember we talked about two different projects last time. One was the exterior book drop. The other was drainage mitigation. So the book drop would be a permanent solution. We've been spending about $10,000 every 10 years for a book drop. This would be cut into the building, and the library has graciously agreed to fund half of that project. And so our architect has told us we can expect that to cost somewhere between $12,000 and $15,000. So you're looking at somewhere between $6,000 and $7,500 for that project. The other is the drainage mitigation, and you will recall that we got one bid after putting out an RFP from Alden Longfellow's Landscaping and Excavation. That bid was for $22,500, which was half of what we were anticipating that would likely be. And as I mentioned, Mr. Longfellow is online. Let me ask him to unmute. And he's here to answer any questions that you might have. John, are you there?
I'm here.
All right.
Well, since he's online, we'll take up the drainage
Yeah,
first.
absolutely.
So, any questions from the chair? I mean, from the council? Chair's going to hold until the end.
Memo here states that it would be supported one half of the cost funded by the library board of trustees.
No,
That's for the book drop.
Oh, we're starting. it
We're just talking about the drainage first. Nope, sorry. Anybody? Yeah, go ahead, Andy. Get you.
Did Mr. Longfellow ever try to make a determination of how much of the problem was groundwater versus surface water penetration?
The lawn is sloped away from the property, or from that side of the north side of the building. So it's minimal surface water. My guess is it's mostly groundwater, but it's really hard to say until we get down there, till we see what cracks there is and see what the problem is.
And you're planning on installing a pumping station?
Yeah, an exterior sump pump, correct.
Yep. Okay, I'm good.
Aaron?
And I'm just kind of summarizing or going over. So that discharge will go onto the lawn. We're not going directly into a drain catchment system. Do we have one on that road? I thought we did, but.
Thought we
My
did too, but-
understanding is that we don't have, there's none that are close enough by. So it is going
Okay.
to go onto a small piece of lawn, and it's ultimately going to drain into the driveway that's on the lower side, downhill.
Okay, and will there be any some stones to collect it so it doesn't run out? Because this would be back towards that dirt parking lot, right?
Correct.
Okay.
We're gonna try our best to control it, but it really depends on the amount of water down there. If there's a lot of water down there, then it's gonna drain into that dirt parking lot.
Should I'll come and dig a hole if you need it. Put some.
Right.
One question I had, are you prepared to deal with whatever you see down there, whatever you run into at the cost that you submitted?
It
Whether
really
there's, yeah, go ahead.
It really depends on what's down there. If there's ledge, if there's a huge boulder that's out of the ordinary, then that would be an extra. If it's within reason and within normal capabilities of a normal construction company, yes, we'll take care of it, even if it's outside the scope a little bit. But with old buildings like this, you never know what you're going to run into. You might run into an old foundation right there or stuff like this. I very rarely charge any more than the estimate, but when you're digging, you don't know what you're going to find.
I would be very supportive of keeping it within the means that you have, within the budget that we're setting, or you have bid. And not running over, if at all possible.
Yeah, for sure. I'm with you. Like I said, I'm very against overcharging or doing any extras. So if it's within reason, it'll be covered. If it's out of, the normal scope of excavation, then we'll have to talk about it.
And you'll make us aware immediately.
For sure. Yeah.
Okay. One other thing, you mentioned pumping the water onto the lawn and letting it run into the parking lot. There is no chance, do you feel that that there is sufficient drainage there as not to cause a problem with the property owners next door?
I believe again, it really depends. You're a pretty flat area, so the amount of water we pump should be minimal. It really should only be during rainstorms, which is wet down on the parking lot driveway or the dirt parking lot anyway during rainstorms. And there should be really minimal during dry events. I really don't like non-rainy days. I mean, there will be water in the parking lot when there isn't normally currently, or more, I guess you'd say.
Where we are going to do that, have we made any provisions for like a pre-existing condition survey of the property next door?
Not
No,
with me.
Yeah.
Is that something we should do?
This is outside my area of expertise, so I would rely upon Mr. Longfellow's advice.
Pretty hard to do it after the fact.
I think.
Right, Andy.
Yeah, in my experience over at the library, the current sump pump is keeping the water off the floor, but still allowing things to be damp. And, more or less.
Outside, right, to the wall.
Yeah, and if they put an under drain in below the level of the foundation, and most of that building, the older section, is going to be set stone, not mortared. So that's going to be another thing to be careful of. I don't think they're going to get that much water. During the snow melt and all that, the water table will rise a little, they have a lot of pumping. But generally, once the water table is pushed down, and it's just sort of, I guess, an opinion based on experience, they're not going to get, Coppice Stream under there. I really think that, and what happens what alternatives we have but to do this? And if it turns out that we have that kind of water, then we're going to have to deal with the neighbors and put an outlet over to the nearest storm drain. But this is the first step for sure.
Good,
Are
Roy?
you prepared to deal with the, like what Andy just said about the foundation? It's an old building. Digging up next to the foundation is, I would suspect somewhat risky on an old building like that, with the foundation technology they had back then. Do you have any experience with that?
Yes, we worked on the whole hillside of Hollowell. We've done multiple perimeter drains, multiple French drains, and that's all old granite foundations. And we've done granite foundations all over the Kennebec area, which I assume was what you guys have. And if you don't have that, then we're used to working with easily damaged foundations. So it's all within our experience, all within what we work with. We just go down really carefully and go slowly.
Just for the benefit of the audience and the council. When you go in a basement of an old home or old building and you see mortar, okay, and you would make the assumption that that foundation and those stones were set in mortar, but they weren't. Okay, they're dry set stone foundations. Okay, nothing really glued them together except the skill of the people that built it. And the reason you see mortar is because, you know, a homeowner or a business owner at some point decided to parge up, you know, the air holes and the water leakage. So it's really not set in mortar. So as Longfellow says, if they're used to dealing with this kind of thing, then they know.
Aaron, go ahead.
And I'm just confirming, I'm sure it's been, since you've been doing this stuff though, you have insurance that will cover you for any issues that would arise, right?
Yeah, we work for locations such as Maine General with snow plowing and some pretty intensive locations. So we have plenty of insurance to cover this.
Cool. Thank you.
And just to reassure the council, that's always part of the RFP.
All right. I've got a couple quick questions. Venturing into this, been down there and surveyed the property and looked it over the property. Before you came along, somebody came along and said, geez, we got a lot of bark mulch. We've got the drain, the downspout that's right there on the edge. To your point, I think you said you probably wouldn't have anything in there unless a really heavy rain. What are we going to put up against the building? We're not going to be putting bark mulch back up there, all the shrubs that might be holding all the moisture. I mean, I know we want it to look aesthetically pleasing, but what are we going to do to try to mitigate the things that are going to hold moisture against the building?
Yeah, like you said, we're not going to replace it with any bark mulch or anything like that. It's going to be a 2.5 foot wide crushed rock drip edge. Or not, I guess not technically a drip edge because you have gutters, but it's going to be 2.5 feet wide of crushed rock. So when any water hits that, whether it's subsurface water or surface water, it's going to get into the crushed rock, drain down to the bottom, go into that 4-inch pipe that's at the bottom, go to the sump pump, and then pump up to the lawn.
Okay. And would we connect the downspout? The downspout is probably, I think, maybe 2.5 feet just away from the building. It's not really far enough, I think, from that. Is that something we're going to try to move? Or are you going to try to pour that into the underground pipe so that gets pumped, all that water gets pumped out as well?
Yeah, I believe there's 3 downspouts in this area, or maybe 2. I can't remember honestly. But all those downspouts are going to be directly connected to that 4-inch pipe at the bottom near the foundation. And it's going to go to the external sump pump.
Great. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yep.
Good. Get her done.
No, I would just be mindful that if we take the surface area of the roof into the drains, that would be added water that would traditionally not have been pumped out.
Yeah, I believe I looked at it. It's a really small area. It's like 300 or 400 square feet, maybe.
It's not big.
Okay,
I
good.
guess I haven't looked at it in like a month, so don't. But it's not a big area. It's minimal.
Just wanted to hear that you thought about it.
Yeah.
All right. Yes.
And just so the council understands, the staff recommendation is we propose paying for both of these projects out of the undesignated fund. You know, we'll go below that 20% briefly, but as soon as this fiscal year ends, that surplus will be will more than replenish the undesignated fund. So we think that's a good funding source for these 2 projects.
If we're
All in favor? All present are in favor? Okay, let's go to the second item. We'll talk about the book drop.
That's correct. So it could be less than 7,500, but no more than 7,500.
Second.
Any discussion? I have a discussion item on this. Are we getting an RFP for this, for the cost?
So this, at this cost, this does not under our purchasing policy, qualify for a competitive bid. I mean, we could do that.
Is that only because we're doing half?
No, it's
No.
because of the total cost of the project.
I'm in favor. I did some of my research and I'm finding different quotes or
Okay.
different prices, just looking up that I think,
Well, and understand, this has not been put out to bid, so the cost that we have is an estimate.
I
from the
completely
architect.
understand.
Okay.
That's why I'm bringing it up here to everybody, because it could be up to 15, but I still think that's even a higher number than what I found doing my research. I mean, I understand where we're trying to cover it, but I was wondering are we going to have it go out to RFP? I'd like to have somebody reputable come in and tell us exactly what they're going to do, how it's going to be done, just as we do any other project. So-
I had another question.
Go ahead.
Is this something that, because it's a historical building,
Mm.
does it have to go through a process?
So
It's
Richard,
Because you're touching the actual building itself? I feel like. I'm just
No, I
curious.
think that's what kind of what I wanted to.
There's somebody at the state that deals with historical buildings whenever stuff like this happens. And I actually reached out to her last week. And what I learned is that you only need to go through the commission if you're using federal or state funds. Otherwise, it goes back to the town or municipality. And sometimes towns and municipalities have in their permitting process a requirement for what's called like a certificate of appropriateness. And I kind of looked around, like Augusta has one, Winthrop doesn't. So essentially, there's nothing required because there's no federal or state funds. We're not, the project is essentially removing a window and replacing a window with a book slot. So as far as I think we're all concerned, we're not impacting the historical nature of the building regardless, but.
Okay, thank you, Richard. Andy's got a question.
Yeah, so 7,500 is half.
Yeah, the total project could be between,
And I very much agree with both Jim and Linda. We need some competitive bids. $16,000 is a lot of money to put a hole in the wall.
But I'm just wondering if we approve this, then they can go out to bid. Is that?
Yeah. I just want to say, I don't disagree with any of you guys. I've actually reached out to about 10 different contractors. I'm meeting with Jesse Rice tomorrow from 5 Star. I'm having a hard time finding anyone who wants to do it. So I'm more than happy to do an RFP to see what we can find.
we've been down that road before with
Yeah, yeah.
different projects.
Yeah.
A second. Any other discussion? I got a second over here. Did get that logged? Anthony?
Just might have to-
so.
Yeah.
I'm just refreshing my memory about the policy.
Yeah, I thought so too.
Well, but there are different levels as far as sometimes you go and you get quotes versus undergoing a competitive bidding process, but yeah, so once you get up to so a large purchase is considered to be between $10,000 and $25,000. So, but I mean, we're happy to put it out to a formal competitive bid.
So if it doesn't come back, it doesn't come back.
Yeah.
Say,
And we can address it from there, but I'd like to have a contractor come and explain how they're going to do it and make sure we know who's doing it. And so it's not just, thank you. All right. Sharon seconded. So all in favor? All present for the discussion are in favor. Zach wasn't here, so he's not going to chime in.
Apologize for being late. I'm now present, so.
Thank you. Sure.
Tatum?
Sorry.
We just approved
Yep.
up to 7,500
Yep.
as a matching.
Yep.
Pending an RFP. So are we just looking to get an update on that?
Yes.
That's my question for you.
Yes, so it should come back, an RFP should come back to the council, so then we can agree on the contractor to who will want in which bidder we're gonna take. Okay,
Unless it comes under, right? So if it's like an $8,000, then you can execute
Yeah.
that immediately.
Yeah. I would agree. Yep. We're on agreement with that, Anthony, Richard?
You guys are the boss.
All right. All right, well, thank you, guys. All right, where are we gonna head now, Anthony?
Let's circle back to the budget now.
You wanna go back to the budget?
Okay, so you have in front of you updated budget materials. The only change from what we discussed last 2 weeks ago is, after speaking with some of you, a reduction in the bucket of money that we would use for merit raises for non-unionized salaries from 4% to 3.5%. That represented a approximate savings in the budget of $4,000. And well, I wasn't done talking. And so the reason that it's such a low amount is because Nick had already budgeted based upon people's anniversary dates. So that's why it's reduced.
So, question, you said it's 3.5% overall. I just look at the individual, budgets and there's some budgets that are significantly higher than 3%.
We did
None
not.
of them that are below the 3.
We did not go back and change the notes on everything, but this is three. And keep in mind, this does not mean that everyone's getting a 3.5%. It does not necessarily mean that the top performers get 3.5%. They might get more than that. But the total amount of money that we have for merit raises for non-unionized positions is the equivalent of 3.5% of those wages.
And this goes into a bucket.
Correct.
Correct.
And it doesn't get dispensed all at once, right?
No, it's going to be based on people's anniversary dates and their performance
We're
evaluation.
just looking to fill that.
All we're doing is saying, give us a bucket of money that's equivalent to 3.5% of, that's what we're doing,
And you're gonna dole it out based
Yes.
on
based upon performance.
performance. Yep.
Does that include, contracted amounts as well?
No, contracts are not subject to contracted amount, like,
Means the account.
Does that percentage, that 3.5%, does that include, there was a contract at least, one contract that was a contracted increase? It was like $5,000 increase, wasn't there?
Condition of employment or when you hired, right? Is that what you're talking about?
certain
It's not a
period.
contract, it's not a union. It was a different,
I'm very confused.
Clerk's position?
Huh?
Deb got $5,000 after a certain
Yes.
time.
Yeah.
So
That's
that's,
just wondering if that is calculated into the 3.5% or is that above and beyond the 3.5%?
That's her current salary right now. When she hits January 1, then she is eligible for a merit increase.
Okay. All right, so that's already, that,
Her salary right now is $80,000. When she hits January 1 of 2027, then she's eligible for a performance increase. Deb,
so I guess what you're telling me is that the contracted amount that when she took the,
well, it's not a contract.
okay, well, the agreed amount,
Yes,
has already taken place. That
Yes.
has already,
that happened last January 1st.
that's what I was wondering.
Okay,
I was just wondering if that was above and beyond this,
No.
3.5%.
No, that's in the current year's
what
budget.
it's already being paid at.
That's a position that is, well, that's in the bucket.
Anybody that's non-union, they're in this bucket. So, which is pretty much everybody but the ambulance, I think, in the police station. Everybody else is non-unionized. Correct me if I'm wrong, but those are the people that'll be getting a raise out of this bucket of 3.5%.
That's correct.
Go ahead.
You're just going to. Is the supervisor or director coming to you and then you divvy it out that way?
That's correct.
Okay.
Roy, go ahead.
Well, I have a couple questions. I've been looking through these numbers here and something kind of caught my eye. And we might have discussed it. I don't remember the conversation. It might have been but I'd just like a refresher on it.
Okay.
Public Works and Cemetery Crew.
Yes.
If you take the two of them and if you look, the cemetery had 174% increase.
That's because we moved, Nick, the increase in cemetery is because we moved money from the public works budget into the cemetery budget at the request of the cemetery committee. Is that correct, Nick?
Right, for the labor
For
position.
the laborer positions.
But the Public Works didn't go down.
Well, it stayed flat, didn't it? Are you talking about the entire budget?
Went up $1,000.
No, just the Public Works budget.
All right, hang on, let me get to there.
So,
If you took the two of them and add them up, last year's, just take both departments and add up the budgets for both departments. This is kind of what I saw. 893,000. This year's 953,000 if you add the two of them up. What's that down?
okay, so let me look at my budget
Well,
book.
I mean, the Public Works had a pretty significant increase in solid waste disposal.
That's transfer station, not
Oh,
Public
that's right,
Works.
you're right.
So just as a reminder, this operating budget is increasing 1.72% overall. Let me finish.
I understand.
Let me finish. I'm
We've
not done
heard this
talking.
over and over
I
again.
know but it's important to stress, I think, Roy, is that I will eat my hat if you can find another municipality whose operating budget is up 1.72%. So let's look at where the increases are in Public Works. So
Geez, Anthony, I prefer you eat an elephant.
I mean, well,
I'll do that too, Andy. That's how confident I am. So, okay, so
Yep.
so I'm looking for,
Like this. So we got. Well, that's what appears.
okay, so there was a massive increase for the purchase of guardrails. Significant increase in the purchase of signs and posts.
training went up $3,000.
I'm looking at percentages. Vehicle maintenance went up significantly. Maybe.
30.
Office supplies went up 700, went from 1,000 to 8,500. Am I looking at the right one?
Yeah, you're looking at the right. Yes, you are.
Let me see if I can find this presentation.
Yeah, office supplies went from.
It's 100%. Yeah. And
Well, I understand why the cemetery is increasing, but I would just expect to see at least some of it coming out of Public Works.
The decrease,
You're
the
taking
decrease
two
should come on.
staff or a staff and a half, you know.
If you're shifting the wages,
the wages.
the shifted wages that should have come down and that went up.
We're looking at.
It would appear to be the vehicle.
So we,
38-100.
we'll go, yeah, and I was,
Citizen gets a stipend of 9.
Wait, so now we're talking about different budgets here. So let's stick to the Public Works budget just for a second here. Okay, Nick, what were you going to say?
well, I was just gonna say, so yeah, that was about $33,000 that was shifted to the cemetery, removed from Public Works, shifted to the cemetery. So the Public Works budget stayed flat, so that means there was an increase of 33,000, right? So I mean, I could find some of it. Training's up $3,000. Like he's pointing out, office supplies is up 7.5, so that's 10.5.
What the,
Well, I do see Roy's point on the office supplies because that figure does seem out of whack. Do you recall what that
I
was?
can't remember off the top of my head.
Weren't you guys going to pull that right from your budget, Anthony?
That's for the town office.
Okay.
All the town office
Thank you.
office supplies are consolidated.
I'm gonna see if I can find his presentation, see if he made a note of it in there.
Yeah, there's a $2,500 increase in electricity. $7,500 for guardrails. $3,000 combined for cold patch and hot mix. $2,500 increase for signpost. $2,000 for striping.
here? It me off guard.
The only thing I can see, Roy, that does seem to be out of whack that I honestly cannot explain is the office supply budget. And I'm wondering if that's a figure that should have been on another line item.
Hang on, let me look at his original spreadsheet. He does have it actually at 1,000 on his original spreadsheet for office supplies, 25,250.
Yeah.
Oh wait, hang on, no, that was last year's.
Well, we only have so many columns that we can work with. This is Trio, so there's only so many columns we can work with. And so at least for me, when I look down through here, when I see a massive increase in percentages, that's when I then go to the left and look at and compare what the budget and the 2026 budget and the 2027 budgets are.
I think if we don't have any more columns, I'd rather see the cash increase or decrease than the percentage.
Is he looking right now? Is that what we're going to be? I don't want to interrupt anybody, so we'll just kind
Do
of.
you see anything else with the Public Works budget?
Like I said, I think the 85,000 or 8,500 is a typo.
Okay.
So I think the original amount was actually just 500, according to the spreadsheets I'm looking at.
So it probably should have been 500 as opposed to 8,500. We fat fingered it.
Makes more sense.
Just tell me what the 38-100.
That's all that, if you look.
Yeah,
there's no
yeah,
vehicle-
yeah. So what we
That's
did was we just, we just consolidated everything into that one line item.
Thank you.
We noticed that to Aaron's point, though, it did go up, 25%. But we've year to date, we spent 45,7291 on it.
But
So-
again, you'd have to go through this, and I don't know when these year-to-date figures.
I guess I'm just saying, we haven't even spent what we budgeted for last year. So why are we increasing it?
No. Yeah, you gotta add that whole
confusing.
column.
Be consolidated.
Thank you. That makes a little more sense to me now. Thank you. Not to put my thinking too on and add
That
up.
percentage increase is probably not. It just, the trio is going to assume
65.
that account has been the same.
Well, it is because in 2026, we budgeted in that line item 35,000. We've increased it by $11,000, or excuse me, $9,000. And so that is, an approximate 25% increase. So for that particular line item, but
I feel like I remember Kevin talking about the something that.
But it makes it easier for budgeting, but for looking at what the experience is with each individual piece of equipment, that's why you see the totals in the 2026 column.
Linda?
Well, and again, I don't know when this year-to-date figure was, but hot mix is only used during specific times of the year when it's warm, and we're just now into the warm season.
But we've almost doubled the hot mix.
June 30th is the last day of the fiscal year. Again, I don't know what what the date was on these year-to-date figures. So that this was probably a couple of months ago as we were working through the budget.
Ready? Go ahead.
These are operating expenses.
Just saying.
Okay. Okay.
Mulcher, we talked a few months ago when we first did the budget.
Yeah. That's right.
Approved it last year.
That's right.
We still don't have it, or we?
It wouldn't be reflected in this budget. That would be reflected in the capital budget.
Just curious.
I don't know. I remember you guys asked Kevin about that, and he was, I think, in the process of purchasing it, but I don't know whether or not he's actually received it or not.
Okay, just kind of toting on that, and I know Kevin's not here, so it's really kind of, but it's just where we haven't spent that, or where we have or haven't spent it, but we're going to go up almost double on the hot mix, though. Doesn't that seem like a little bit extreme? Just a thought. I mean, it's to your point, when you look down at the percentages, when you see one that's spiked, you tend to say that makes, hello, why am I doing that?
Hold on a second. Let me look at the year-to-date spending on this.
Thank you.
But hot mix is, I think.
Has it gone up?
It has gone up, obviously, with petroleum costs.
Okay. That's why I thought, I'm just asking.
But I would say that if you're going to overspend on something like the things that fix potholes, might be a good thing to.
I don't disagree. It's just justification for it. That's all. So.
No. I think at the top it said when the actuals were done.
12.
The 12th.
Yeah.
Actuals are of 6.
All right. I'm sorry, I'm losing my train of thought here.
We could.
We did have a lot. I know Kevin dropped off a boatload of APs that wouldn't be on that. I don't know if hot mix was part of that, but I know he dropped off a bunch of accounts payable.
Yeah, she did.
I guess, Nick, while you're up there and they're looking, line item on the Public Works 05101, the note says designated for one staff member. It's not a direct increase to the line item below it. Is that supposed to be?
He's just moving someone from the other line.
Yeah, that's perfect. Yeah, I was just looking at the differences, and that makes sense a little bit more now.
So, Anthony, while you're looking it up, do we want to I don't want to tie, you don't have to tie yourself up for that whole thing. I mean, I trust it. And you answered the question. It's probably the
Okay.
cost has gone up. I mean, I don't need to weigh you down to look at that. Because I think they wanted to talk about the cemetery. We talked about public works. Are we going to go to the cemetery or no? Roy, are you satisfied? Do you want to talk about the cemetery budget?
Yeah.
Okay. Just making sure that you're,
See one go up, you
yes, agreed.
Right, I guess you guys will have to make an amendment to that amount that's on that sheet.
Great. We found that one. So you had anything else? Use your mic. Get a new mic, make sure.
with the CDL training, I see we've bumped that up quite a bit. It's pretty good expense over last year, up 150%. Are we doing like a retention program?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Anybody else? Anything?
Yeah, just
Yeah, go ahead.
the traffic striping, because I know it was done last week. Are we paying it in advance?
Paying in advance?
The lines?
So not all the striping happens at one time. So what you saw on Main Street
Yeah.
like 2 weeks ago, we had other roads that were painted prior to that.
I just noticed we're a little over on it. The 17,000.
That's the plan.
They said that we ended up making out much better on the crew, the K9 unit than we thought we were going to.
That's my understanding.
That's capital. That's,
Yeah.
that's not.
Yep, that one in the SIP. Any other questions?
So just as a reminder.
Yep.
And that's on this big sheet that you have in front of you. The overall tax impact and the tax levy, which is the total amount of taxes collected between municipal operations, the schools, and the county is 3.34%. And so Nick and I are very confident that we're going to have a mill rate increase of less than 3.5%. And I also think it's worth bearing of the total amount of taxes that are going to be collected, 64% goes to the schools, 8% to the county, 27% to municipal operations.
And I was just going to point out for the record,
Yes, please.
school budget passed pretty overwhelmingly. So I feel like, their voters know that that's going to impact what we do too. So keep that in mind.
Linda.
Say this, in the primaries or the midterms, there's always different voter blocks. So I wouldn't read too much into that.
At least they didn't vote it down, I guess is what I'm saying.
I wouldn't read too much into it, but
Oh.
again, it is different in the midterm.
Is there anything else from anybody? Well, I'll just say, Anthony, Nick, and in all of our crews that are doing the budgeting, I appreciate it. And I know you're saying it's only X, but I still got to put my words in that we're up here also asking questions and doing our due diligence to make sure everything is accountable. And you may say it's 2,000, 3,000, or 4,000. It's still our taxpayers' monies, which we're trying to make sure that we don't get too overly crazed in spending, so we don't let that increase happen. I know how you come up and you kind of saying, well, it's only, and I know you guys have done a good job, and I'm not saying you haven't exceeded the other towns, but it's still for us up here to make sure we want to ask the right questions to make sure that we.
I understand that. I understand everyone wanting to do their
Not
due
to get you
diligence.
frustrated over it.
No, I understand everyone wanting to do their due diligence, but I do think it's important to put it into like some sort of context, like There are very few towns in the state of Maine that wouldn't trade, very few elected bodies in the state of Maine at the municipal level who wouldn't trade positions with you right now with an operating budget of 1.7%.
I certainly appreciate you pointing that out, but I think a lot of that comes from our nitpicking too.
And so if you guys want to reduce the budget by $8,000 to account for the mistake in the public works budget, we just make,
No, we just make that-
make it as part
make
of the
that
motion.
Motion, yeah. I think we should just correct that because it just makes the most sense. You guys have any other questions? Or did you mention to me the one, what that increased position? Or, for the fire department?
Oh, yes, that was the other note I had. There was
Would
a
you speak
note,
towards it?
sorry, I had it written down here.
That's fine.
Anticipate.
Fire department, there was a line item on there, and I just want some explanation on this, because I just want to make sure I'm pointing to the right.
My guess is going to be because Dan wants to retire, anticipating a per diem or
Yeah, so-
time,
So you guys may recall that,
wants it reflected. I'm going to.
no, so you guys may recall that his, Chief Brooks's plan, he explained when he was here previously, is that he's having one of the deputy chiefs come in 2 hours a week in order to do, get all their training in order. And that eventually that's going to ramp up so that in like 4 years, when Dan's ready to step aside, that amount's going to increase like 2 hours per week over the next 4 years. So that eventually that person's going to be working 8 hours a week, so that we then have sort of a part-time fire chief who will take over when Dan retires. So this is sort of transitional in nature.
Did you find?
I just, what?
Yeah, that's the training officer. That's the training officer.
Is this what was loaded? This is exactly what was loaded onto the internet under the link?
Yes.
What kind of caught me off guard there is every time we've spoken, Dan's got up to speak, he talks about reduction in the amount of,
Recruitment.
no, the reduction in the amount of people that
Right.
are either, yeah, recruitment.
Recruitment.
You said equipment.
No,
That's
recruitment.
correct.
Yep.
And seeing the cost of the wages go up, even though we're reducing the amount of the crew, was I just wanted some explanation.
Well, and to his credit, I think Chief Brooks is preparing you for the day when you're going to have like a full-time staff member dedicated to the fire department because
Who, just out of curiosity, who makes that decision that we dedicate a full-time staff member to?
well, we're not talking about this year or next year or even the year after that.
It'll be us.
Eventually, it'll be the council. But to your point, Roy, if there are fewer volunteers, then you're going to have some sort of manpower in place in order to, sort of run the department. And we are not likely to see the likes of Dan Brooks ever again. Someone who's been dedicated to that fire service for as long as he has and to be
We're going to be
chief for as long as
looking
he
more
has.
towards like regionalization as we're dealing with the police
Well,
department.
I mean,
Went on it on our own.
Correct.
yeah, I mean, perhaps, but you're going to need someone who's going to be paid more in order to do the work that Dan has done, along with that of a training officer.
Incentives. Housing. Someone like Tyler, who's a professional firefighter, elsewhere, none of them are. I think there's other avenues.
Yeah, I do.
But I do agree, we should prepare for worst case stuff. 50, so 60%. Going up to 0.95% with the firefighters themselves. And then that additional, so what you're telling us is Dan does plan on spending that 14,560 with additional, like spreading out administrative function?
To have one of the deputy chiefs serve as a training officer for more hours each week. That 14,000, yes.
It's not going to put anyone in like that.
No.
We're talking about the fire department, Anthony. How is his Chief Brooks's on-call pay situation? How's that working? Is it helping?
According to him, it is.
Okay. I just noticed that kind of year-to-date, we've spent $38,880 or $3,888, and he's actually looking to increase that up to six. So,
Well, keep in mind that he didn't have that program going all year long.
Correct.
He
So-
implemented that during the course of the year.
but that's what he thinks, that's kind of the happy medium on that budget.
Yeah, I think, I really do trust Dan a lot when it comes to his budgeting, and he thinks that's the number that we can budget in order to ensure that on holidays and weekends, we have volunteers available to
No, I
respond.
think
to
it was
calls.
I think it was a decent plan.
No, I thought it was a really good and creative idea too. And it's, like the amount of money per hour is pretty piddly, but nonetheless, every little bit helps.
It just keeps people around.
Yes,
I
exactly.
just remember looking through the warrants. There was a lot of, it looked like the bi-yearly stuff got cut this last warrant.
Are you talking about the twice a year
Stipends
pay
and
for
hours.
volunteers? Yeah.
So that's not going to be on here then, right? Was after, so.
Right. I think I just missed it.
Gotcha.
Oh, you're saying it wouldn't be on.
Banded, yeah.
It's
Yeah.
short.
Volunteer firefighters are paid twice a year.
Yeah, just saw it on the.
Yeah.
Great. Zach, anything? You good? Linda, Andy? Good. All right, great, thank you. And I do appreciate you sharing the salary compensations because, I mean, I'm not saying I think we pay our folks pretty good, and I'm happy to do that. I mean, I'm happy with the work that they do. So I just think that that's important to see that.
The other thing that on that, I understand that that's base pay. That doesn't include benefits. That doesn't include value added benefits.
Yes.
Is, one of the things that comes to mind is going to a 4-day work week.
Well, I mean, honestly,
There's a
Roy,
value added for that.
if we were going to compare apples to apples, there would be places where our benefits are better than some towns and places where it's worse.
But
And
but that is a value add. So, I mean,
Yeah.
it is, but I mean, I again, doing the research and showing it, I mean, I can see that, we're at the top of the scale in some things and we're lower in others and the median on others. So I think it's important to see it because I think it helps to look at it.
Well, and as I mentioned in the email to you guys last week, and I do feel strongly about this, like our goal is not to hire C performers, right? We want A performers. We
Yeah.
want top level performers. You are not going to attract top talent by paying middling wages. And if the juice is worth that squeeze, and I think those are good investments to make depending upon the person, the experience, the work ethic, the talent that they bring. I mean, I think we've got a good example of that back there in our library director. I've always said, I think Richard's the best library director in the state. Now, that doesn't mean he's the highest paid in the state, but if we wanted to pay him $20,000 less, I imagine he could go out and find a job pretty darn quickly at a big library who'd be willing to meet his price. And so I just think we have to be really strategic about what we're paying people if we want to both attract and retain.
Yeah, and I agree with that. I think Roy brings up a good point though. With benefits for even with its insurance and paying our insurance, if we don't use the insurance, the vacation times that we offer, the sick time that we offer, it's all part of that package. So when we offer that, and you go to other places or municipalities, those, to your point, some are up, some are down. If you go out into the private sector, some are up, some are down. So, but it is part of their pay.
It is.
At the end of the day.
It is. And, you know, if you guys want us to compare sort of how our benefits package compares to other towns, we can do that through the MMA salary survey.
I think we would look at, okay, I was thinking the future. I'm not asking you to go out.
No. I'm just suggesting this is not, so that, this is not to change this, but is to give you a sense of how we're stacking up against other towns when it comes to our benefits package. Like, and when you talk about holidays, the holidays that we get are pretty standard across municipal government. So, because municipalities typically follow what the state and federal governments are
Go
doing.
ahead, Linda.
I just want to say, I am not in favor of looking at the salary survey every year that we're doing budgeting. I think people are not, I don't care what the other towns are paying. As long as we're competitive, I don't care that these salaries are going up $4,000 and $5,000. I'm telling you right now, you're going to get in trouble when you start going down that road, because everybody's salaries are going to go up hugely. That is not what the private sector is getting right now. It's not. And the thing is, on the school side, they're going to have to look at that, because the salary increases and the step increases I saw when I met with the superintendent, I don't know how it's sustainable. I just don't. I don't understand how it's sustainable. It's not. And that's what I'm saying is, I don't care what people are getting out there. This is what we're paying. And, you know, as long as we're competitive, I'm not looking to be paid the top paid. We have to put it, we have to be really judicious about this thing, because it is not sustainable. So that's just where I'm sitting.
So as I mentioned in my email the other day, the plan is to compare ourselves every other year, just to make sure that we're staying current with whatever the trend lines are in municipal government.
Thank you. Anything else? Aaron, no? Okay, well, yeah, please.
I'll move to approve the resolution 2026-2 FY27 municipal budget as amended with the public works item.
Amending it, 8,000.
And whatever the difference is.
$8,000.
$8,000. That was presented.
We want a second?
I'll second.
Motion, I have a second. Any other discussion? All in favor? Oh,
I have one quick
sorry.
question too. Just real quick, for the undesignated fund, at the bottom of your big sheet, the general fund above 20%, is that our current number for the general fund, 1.6, and we're taking out the 575? Is that correct?
So that's a comparison to last year, we took out 1.6.
Okay.
This year, we're taking out 575.
Okay. All right. And so what percent does that put us at?
So if we take the 575, it will be 19-ish.
Okay. I didn't see that note in there.
More capital, the capital.
No, that 575 is for capital.
Yeah, but it's for capital but it's not, we have agreed to look at something. The addition.
No. So just as a reminder, once we back out that 575, as Nick said, we'll be at about 19% of where we should be with our fund balance. Our policy says 20%. As soon as this fiscal year ends, that's going to be replenished well above 20% with budget surpluses from this year. Our plan is to just set that aside, not touch it for a year. Okay.
Just subtract 8,000 out of it.
I tell you, so what I would say is with that resolution is just instead of like marking on it, just let us redo it for Jim's signature later in the week.
Then but as a council, don't we have to order?
This is fine as it is. Yeah.
Okay. All right, so.
Well, we still need to vote.
Still need to vote, so it's all good? All right, all in favor? All are in favor. Thank you.
Yes, thanks, Nick and Anthony and all the department heads for putting up with us.
Please, someone waive the second reading.
Oh.
Make a motion
Thank
to
you.
waive the second
Thank you,
reading.
Linda. Got a motion and a second. Any discussion for the second reading? No, all are in favor? All are in favor. Thank you, Linda, for catching that for me. We jumped around here so much, so everybody give me a moment to get right back on track where we are. I think we're at 114. 114, yep. He's the next one, yep. So, all right, let's talk about items 114, discussion of the town's community resilience partnership, self-evaluation and community priorities.
Okay, so you folks will recall that we've been participating in the Community Resilience Partnership for the last 3 years. And we've gotten $205,000 in community action grants through that program. And so in order to continue in the program, you must re-enroll in the program. And as part of that re-enrollment process, we need to revisit our self-evaluation and identify some resilience-related actions that we may be interested in pursuing. So I sent this, I hope that people looked at it, that self-evaluation is something that we can do as a directors group at our next directors meeting if you guys don't want to spend a lot of time on that. The community actions, I took the liberty of highlighting in green some of those that we've talked about before that we may be interested in or that are sort of in the process. That includes the possibility of EV chargers. And in fact, at one of the conferences I was at earlier this week, I ran into someone who can help us with that. Yeah, of course.
And Shannon brought up a good point, did you get a chance to kind of meld the comprehensive implementation plan committee with our alignment?
So we have two.
I'm assuming you did.
Yeah, so we have 2 members of the comp plan committee here. We've asked them to weigh, so you're just one group that's going to weigh in on this. The comp plan committee is going to weigh in on it. Our Conservation Commission and our Downtown Revitalization Committees are all going to weigh in on this self-evaluation and the community actions. But we were interested in your thoughts. And so some of these things do reflect the comprehensive plan. And in fact, I think EV chargers were mentioned in the comprehensive plan, particularly for downtown. But the things that sort of jump to mind for me is we're going to have the energy audits of some of our facilities. So after that, we can pursue grant money in order to implement the findings of some of those energy audits if there's more that we can do. I mentioned the EV charging stations. One of the things that I mentioned the last time that we applied, and there just was not enough room at the end for this, but the town of Newcastle has this battery backup lending program. And I'm very interested in that. They had a presentation on that at this conference I was at on Wednesday. And I mentioned to our library board chair a little earlier that Newcastle is now putting some of those at their library for people to check out. So what it is if the power goes out in the community and people don't have generators, they can get one of these battery backups and keep their refrigerator running, for instance, or medical equipment, or recharging their devices. And so I think could be a really valuable community service.
We discussed that, remember at the firehouse? When we
did.
And they brought that up, and that was it piqued my interest.
Me too.
Because I think it's, money it's a great program, and it really doesn't cost us any money towards it that would really kind of benefit the community, so.
That's right. That's right.
You do a lot with,
Yeah.
help a lot of individual households.
Yeah.
With a small amount of money.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
And so also one of the other things that jumped to mind, and I think some of our other groups have talked about this, and this was talked about at the conference, is the possibility of planning like some sort of community garden. And we have a space out in front of this building that we could do that, or a pollinator garden or something, just something to help the environment. So, but anyway, you've got this spreadsheet in front of you, and I'm interested in any thoughts that you might have about any of the actions on here that intrigued you.
There's other grants available for community gardens. Has there been any discussion about the one that's up by the high school? Just curious.
Not that I know of.
School would do that, so hint, hint to the school board. Feel like they have a greenhouse up there that's good condition.
Yeah, it's behind
Up in
by
the
the ball
woods.
field.
Yeah.
Because they did do it.
Just right near Apple Valley.
Great, especially now that the town is doing a farmer's market downtown.
Right.
Be a good use of, I mean, a good way to incorporate students into the community and agriculture.
You know, Shannon, I hadn't thought about that, but a community action grant might actually pay for a renovation, if you will, of that greenhouse.
Yeah, I think it's a great suggestion. You know, get some of these kids out there, even just to teach them how to do it. Yes. Yeah. For graduation. Yeah, I just think it's just boost it, you know.
Yeah.
Start
And as I mentioned, we do have a couple members of the comp plan committee. So if you guys have anything interesting to say about this.
Yeah, I kind of like that suggestion. I mean, I was really leaning towards the battery backup piece of it too, Anthony. Kind of that gets one of my votes. I do like what Shannon just presented. I think that was very viable.
Well, that's an interesting question. I'd have to do some more research on exactly what a living shoreline is, Roy, but that's an interesting thought.
Yeah, the riprap needs.
Yeah, shorelines are very weirdly classified. So because you have the ocean, the river, and lake, it's all.
Right.
But E8 is a similar thing, I think.
Andy, go ahead.
Yeah, Norcross Point right now is suffering some pretty severe erosion problems. So any money that we could redirect to preservation down there. And also a nonprofit is working down there on the gazebo and some of the other benches. And yeah, apparently all the old grills pretty much ripped off the posts and they're pretty hazardous. So they have to come out. So maybe the community action grant and could be, some of that money could be spent there. I don't know if it fits. Same thing with taking out the old dock at the beach before some little kid falls and cuts their head off. I don't know if that grant money can be diverted or.
Adopt and implement a plan or policy to make critical working waterfront infrastructure. Oh, that's title, so I don't.
Well, and it says and,
Oh.
so
Waterfront.
just storms, sea level rise. So I mean, it may.
Okay,
I
so
think we need God for that on Maronica.
To Zach's point, the E8 is just a matter of approving policies. So that's even having to seek a grant.
and while we're on this, have you heard anything back from the town of Monmouth as far as study?
I have not.
Damned.
Yeah, I have not.
My sense of humor rubbing off on you, Jim.
The last and of course, the last I asked about it, and I can't even recall when that was, has been some months ago.
I watched their
They
last.
had not yet gotten the results of their engineering study,
Okay, but they did do it. It's
my understanding. No. So keep in mind, this all, yeah, relates to resiliency.
Yeah, I mean, keep in mind that this year, Norcross Point is scheduled for a major rehab by a private organization. Should include repairing the siding on the bathrooms. It's already included the gazebo. We will be painting the gazebo, painting the picnic tables, doing repairs to the picnic tables. Those cameras could be pretty crucial to the preservation of the work that's being done.
Yeah, I think you've got a couple of good ones there, though. I mean, I think we've got some. I'd like to be curious to see what other committees and groups like to talk about, and they can bring it forth to us. Thank you. That,
We,
yeah. Steve McDermott says they're going to review that within their committee, and then they'll bring some more stuff back to us. So I appreciate that, Drew. It's going to be important.
The last thing that I would say about this is, although I appreciate the planning aspects and stuff, I would like to move towards actually like implementation of things rather than study.
Ditto. I mean,
I
and
think
that's why we gravitated toward heat pumps and LED lights
Yeah.
to begin with. And of course, with the energy audit, that might lead to some action after the fact. But I typically agree with you, Aaron.
Yeah, my favorite would be Shannon's in the power plants. Not that we don't need anything for EV, but we're already cramped them for parking downtown anyway. But
Well, you know,
but that would be lower on my totem pole. Just
one of the things that caused my antennas to go up when we first started talking about this in EV chargers, at one point, Elizabeth Peters said if we had some in the municipal lot, it might encourage people to actually stay downtown longer and visit some of the shops and eat in some of the restaurants and all. And
Yeah.
I think she might have had a point.
She may have, but I think that the vault usually brings everybody. They put up their big sign and everybody comes. Food trucks come and people like to walk around downtown. I think that's been great. So, yeah, the trickle charge. Great. Well, I think we get what you need from that, Anthony.
Yes, I did.
Okay, thank you. All right, let's move on to items 115, discussion of the comprehensive plan implementation committee's recommendations regarding the plan's local economic priorities.
Prepared for this one, Roy.
Get him, Steve. Get him.
How y'all?
Great. And yourself?
Implementation Committee. Here to talk the section of the comprehensive plan, but I'd be remiss if I didn't say, I think both as a citizen and not as a chair of the comprehensive plan implementation committee, I think the greenhouse and the portable battery backup powers are like really interesting in unique ways that we could support a variety of residents within the community to help them have power during power outages and also create learning and food opportunities for, both students and for other residents. So really just think cool opportunities. But that's not what I'm here to talk about tonight. The Comprehensive Plan Committee meets once a month. We are going over through sections of the comprehensive plan, each section 3 months at a time. Before I go any further, I want to recognize Whitney Kahn's here with us tonight. Pat Savory is online, and the other members of the Comp Plan Committee who have been working hard on this, Pat Ladd, George Smith, and Tim Adams. So thanks for being here, Whitney and Pat.
And Tim's online as well.
Thanks, Tim. So the first section of this is just an overview of our process again, where we meet. For the first month, everybody brings in what are the strategies that they think would be interesting or important for the community to work on. The second month, we have a subject matter expert come in and talk to us. For this section, we had Ann Ball from the Senior Program Director of Maine Downtown Center come in to talk to us. And then at the third meeting, we take what we've learned from the subject matter expert and determine if the strategies that we previously identified were appropriate, feasible, or made sense, or if they needed to be reworked. So we worked on these from March through May. Yep, March through May. Put this together and we came up with the following 4 strategies and then a series of recommendations that are smaller based on things that are happening in the community or have potential to impact the local economy within the community. Strategy 4.4 might feel and sound familiar based on recent conversations you all have had about the budget, to maintain sidewalks. When we think about our local economy, the village area is not the totality of our local economic driver. We have lots of agriculture. We've also had conversations about more industrial development out up on Turkey Lane. And we have development all along the 202 corridor. So I don't want to have this misinterpreted as a village plan, but a lot of this will focus on the village given how visible it is. So just maintaining sidewalks throughout town to encourage walkability, which in turn would promote more business and trips to businesses. And we think that this is just part of a larger theme for a walkable community found throughout the plan. And while it might not directly lead to more stops per visit, can lead to more visits, which would, we believe, lead to more stops. Strategy 4.5, create an economic development plan. And we think the basis of this is just identifying really what are our gaps, where are we doing well, what are the opportunities, working to evaluate the downtown area. What do we have any more vacant storefronts, right? A lot has changed since this plan was originally drafted and printed 2 years ago. And how do we support all business types, including home businesses? We think that, I know we just talked about maybe getting to action and implementation, not just plans, but how do we create a long-term roadmap for the future so that we can implement consistently and that we, while the compass dial might swing from 87 to 92 degrees, we're not all of a sudden jumping to 155 without being informed, and all of a sudden we're starting over. Strategy 6.3 was promote activities on Main Street. Again, this isn't necessarily something that will lead to new businesses necessarily being down there, but will draw people to the downtown. And to me, I think that this is supplemental to direct investment and direct action in the local economy. But how do we bring people into the heart of our downtown? Right? Somebody just mentioned the Vault. Downtown feels really different on those weekends than on other weekends. And, you know, I think the same is trying to be done on every Thursday during the harvest season with the farmers market. And how do we just get, I don't think we need maybe it'd be great if we had the Vault every weekend, but how do we not have such a big variance between highs and lows? We want to reduce the gap between those peaks and valleys. And then strategy 8.4 is use the built environment to encourage economic growth, recognizing that we have opportunity. And I've heard, when I hear people come to this dais and talk to the council, I often hear them say, it used to be, or town used to be busy, or the shops, we had 2 ice cream shops, we had a diner. And I don't hear people saying, we want what was. We don't want necessarily those stores back, but we want a downtown that feels vibrant, where you see your neighbors, where you can be in community with people. And I think it is not so much a reminiscing of what was and what we're missing now, but what we could have again in the future. And we have the infrastructure for that. And I know that there's been conversations about grease traps, and I won't pretend to understand all the nuance about grease traps, but how do we have a downtown that feels vibrant, where you connect with people, where you can see other families out before T-ball, after T-ball, every weekend, and it feels a little bit busier. I'm going to pause there. I just rattled off 4 economic strategies after a robust budget meeting, and see if you have any questions for me.
Anthony, go ahead.
Yeah, Steve, I have a quick question on strategy 4.5. So would you anticipate, or would you expect that to be part of perhaps a TIF strategy?
I think a TIF strategy could be incorporated into that. And I think maybe I had this in my notes and didn't say this. I think that I know that there's conversations about a downtown plan. And I think a downtown plan could be a portion of the economic plan, but again, wanting to recognize that our economic plan should support agricultural activities, industrial activities, and activities that happen beyond the downtown. But I certainly think a TIF and contemplating how we use that tool to drive business and commercial development and local economy could really be highlighted in there. Again, so we have a whole strategy, right? So we know that there's certain limitations on how much land area can be in a TIF. If we, again, creating the roadmap that can certainly change and be amended in the future, but so that we're moving towards a goal and not starting that conversation up fresh each time from the bottom.
And a question just about 8.4. So do you see that speaking more to the amenities of the community? Or because when I think about the built environment to encourage economic growth, I mean, one of the things that springs to my mind is the mill, you know, and we're already starting to see some movement with the mill, with the recent approval of a conditional use permit for 56 apartment units in that building. So I'm just interested in sort of what your group sees as that particularly speaking to.
Yeah, thanks for the question. I think one of the things our group was struck by was the fact that when Ann Ball came to talk to us, that downtown revitalization has a core and a history of coming from a preservation-based economic development. So recognizing what is there to build up upon and not thinking about it has to be someplace new. It has to be, we're laying new sewer and water, right, at $1 million a mile. But what already exists, what do we need to amend? What do we need to adopt? What can we work on? I think, you know, I don't know if there's grants out there for this anymore, but we have a super fund in town, right? That is infrastructure. That is the built environment. What do we do with that? There were for a while grants to put solar on municipally owned Superfund sites, which I think transforms something that is just, you know, land that really can't be used for many things into offsetting our costs in town. So I think it could be really broad, from redevelopment of the mill to are we driving development to where we have public water and public sewer? Are we driving those activities there, and are we moving activities that don't need that away from there through our zoning ordinance? But really could be, what is our infrastructure? What do we have, and how do we leverage it to the best outcomes for the town long range?
Anybody else?
I,
Andy, go ahead.
yeah, I don't mean to be critical, Steve, but I think we need some goals. All right. I mean, we're having committees and we're making plans, but at some point we have to fish or cut bait, and we got to say, we're going to create a trail from downtown to the beach. That's just that's what we want to do. That's what the comprehensive plan says. That's going to be a goal. Okay. And a whole number of other things, the memorial benches. Okay. I know these are my favorite subjects, but you know, the improvements to Norcross, point the cameras down there. You know, these are goals. You know, we keep having committees and meetings, and a little bit like Aaron said, you know, we need to say, we're going to do this. We're going to ask the town council to approve a sort of a progressive, you know, to ask Anthony, to ask the planner to pursue that trail. As properties turn over, we're going to talk to new property owners and get permission, make concessions, whatever we have to do. We want to get that trail through there. Okay. And then, you know, just move on with other small goals. Pardon me, Anthony, but one bite at a time, right? You know, I mean, to have this large plan, it's great, but we'd like to be able to come around and say, we got the cameras at Norcross to preserve the improvements. We got the trail. So maybe if the ice cream store is still there, people would go from the beach and walk straight up through to the ice cream store. That's all I'm saying, Steve. I mean, I know this is all hard work and you're paying a lot of attention to it, but we need some goals we can wrap our hands around.
Thanks for the feedback, Andy. And I think the question I would have to that is our approach has been to identify strategies that exist within the comprehensive plan, bring 4 to 5 back to the council, and allow you as the policymakers to determine how we get there. If it's the desire of the council for us to come back, instead of saying, I'll use 4.4 because that might be the most straightforward, instead of saying maintain sidewalks, if the council would prefer us to come back and say invest $1 million in sidewalks, we can do that. And that's more straightforward. I just don't know that it's our role to set policy at that level. I think our desire has been to say, here are things that were approved by a citizen-driven process that were then voted on and then approved by found to be in compliance by the state. And here are some ways that you might contemplate them so that when you're having conversations about the budget, you can say something that was brought up in the comp plan was sidewalks. Let's prioritize X percent of the rolling over undesignated fund balance to that so we can chip away. That's something we can do. I just don't know that that's always the most helpful. We don't share the same view of the resources that you have.
That, go ahead.
Yeah, so I think your guys' head's in the right spot. I think the downtown obviously is the focus, right? So I think the 4.5 is probably where I'm most interested in to see how we can figure out a way to fill it up, right? And then kind of 6.3, how do you promote that small area And we already kind of know the sidewalks are bad, so we can assess that as needed. But, if we focus on like a very isolated area, and I think that's kind of to some of what Andy's trying to say. Let's pick, 3 blocks. Let's focus there, do that, boom. Let's figure out how to build that. And then I think what you were kind of alluding to, from there, it will grow out once you kind of start that process. So, I like 4.5 because I don't know what the strategies are to bring, more businesses in. What is good? What should we do? Right? TIF's one of them, right? But that's probably not the only option. So for me, that's the focus for me. And then I think 6.3, we have a lot of activities. I don't think it would be hard to start that domino. So once you got some base ones, the vault, right? You get another one, throw it in. There's enough weekends in the summer. So, but 4.5 is what I'm most interested in, see what we can do. So, and thank you again for putting this together. So,
Thank you, Aaron.
All right, so it looks like I'm seeing actionable items.
On the
You want to?
On the last page?
Yes.
Yeah, thanks for that opportunity. So, and
Good
we're-
segue.
Yeah, we're happy to have these conversations. And again, maybe to go back to that compass analogy, like we sometimes think we're telling you north, northeast is where to go, and it's up to the council to say, all right, it's, 89 degrees or, 102 degrees, not where you guys were saying. But so the last page, we had these additional conversations at our committee meetings based on some current topics that we're seeing both in the community or the state or nation at large. And these are all recommendations that we thought would be helpful to ensure the long-term economic success of our community. And the first recommendation is that the zoning ordinance be amended to define data center within the land use tables. The committee is not at this point recommending whether data center should be an allowable use, but rather recognizes the potential unintended consequences a data center could have on the town's economy and future economic development if not defined within our zoning ordinance. Defining data center is the first step that will allow the town to determine how this use type fits within the town's vision for future growth. Yeah.
Go ahead, Linda.
Thing with data centers is, there's not a lot of, folks are not really educated on them. They really don't know, there was legislation and there's going to be more of it this session on data centers. I worked on one specific one related to Betty. But the data center itself, I would like to get somebody in here to do a presentation. What exactly is and cons of these data? There's different ones that have, closed loop systems that they don't do. I'd like to get somebody in here just to see what impact.
Yeah. So again, our recommendation is that it be defined
Right, but I
in
mean,
the
while we're on the subject.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's not something that we have to do necessarily, right? Like you guys could go to the planning board or Dawn and say, hey, this is missing.
We could.
And they could do it.
But we have our recommendation is to you as the policy setters.
Right.
Is to recommend, yes, I could send an email.
Yes.
It could be awfully collegial if they would follow my recommendation, but.
Why they wouldn't.
But
Then you could come
if
back.
you did that, it would carry a different weight. If the council did that, it would carry a different weight. And again, we aren't data center experts. I know that banks have been using data centers for a long time. I know that there's co-located data centers. I don't know what that is, but I know that's a thing where they do different processing for multiple data services. And maybe we want that in certain places, maybe we don't, but it's really just how do we get ahead of a conversation that we can see as predictable. And I guess I'd use the analogy of solar developments. We created our solar ordinance after there was requests to use land for solar developments. And this is just an opportunity to, instead of reacting to something, we can get ahead, respond, and shape the community's land use.
Linda, go ahead.
Betty statute identified it.
Kill two birds.
hijack Steve's presentation here, but, and I was going to talk, we're going to talk about during the town manager report, a moratorium that might be extended, and we might consider a data center moratorium at the same time to allow time for us to figure out, to Steve's point, what we would do from a land use regulation as it relates to data centers, and KV Cog's working on something to that effect, but I'll talk a little bit about that later.
Thank you.
Great. The second one was and this came out of our conversation with Ann, but we would recommend that the zoning ordinance be amended not to allow, and there's a lot of specific definitions here, or specifics here within this, not to allow residential uses on the first floor of multi-story mixed-use buildings or buildings that are currently only commercial use located on Main Street between Town Hall Lane and Bowdoin Street. This would preserve commercial space for local businesses to operate preserving commercial space for local businesses to operate is increasingly important as efforts to revitalize the downtown take shape. So again, this is for.
Like that.
The planning board's already working on that, I think.
The planning, and that came up separately. The planning board is working on a similar definition. I think there's some nuanced difference between what our recommendation is, and Dawn sent me this at 5:20. So we're really looking at those we know that there's single family homes that are here. We've had a mixed pattern development on Main Street. So this is really recognizing that multi-story mixed use buildings are the ones, and then we don't have to worry about a single family home that is on Main Street, or a single family home that was converted into a business that could probably be converted back to a home in the future. This leaves those carve outs for sensitive properties.
Aaron, go ahead.
The only comment I personally don't necessarily like hard regulation in that sense, but I do like the idea of incentivizing. Whether or not we would consider that within a TIF discussion would be my preference versus saying, I don't like telling people what to do. That's where my mind would be.
It's a good thought. Thank you.
Yeah, and then thanks for the comment and feedback there. The third is that we recommend that town staff undertake efforts to assess the number and type of short-term rentals within the community so that already exist. Specifically, we would recommend that staff should work to determine whether each short-term rental falls into one of the following 4 categories: a home share, where somebody rents out a room in the home that they live in; a housing unit that is utilized as a short-term rental for 12 weeks or fewer per year, and also serves as the primary residence, the owner's primary residence. So somebody rents their home out during the summer months or winter months to help offset other expenses that they might have. A housing unit that is used as a short-term rental for 12 weeks or more per year and could otherwise serve as a primary housing unit. So a single family home that is weatherized and 4-season and has all the heating and cooling systems you might expect. And then for a housing unit that is not habitable year round and is used as a short-term rental for any period of time, right? So recognizing that there's a variety of short-term rental use types and that they have different impacts on the community. We're really fortunate to have multiple lakes within our community, as well as other areas of significant recreation, and being a bridge community to other areas of larger recreation, which may serve as a draw for individuals looking to invest in short-term rentals, which reduces the availability of year-round housing opportunities for our residents. And then I think what we want to prevent is the future displacement of current residents in the community.
So Steve, I'm interested how, if the staff were to gather this data, what would we then do with it in order to achieve what you just mentioned?
Yeah, I think the first part is just determining what is the use. And if at a previous conversation, it was suggested that there might be 8 short-term rentals in town. I think about a year ago, that conversation took place. And I think it's really to say, what is the baseline? I think similar to the budget conversation, how many short-term rentals do we have in our community? And do we do another assessment in a year to see what the trend is? I think we don't want to be making policy based on how we feel. Lots of talk about the vibes economy, but I don't think we want vibes policy. So, and if we see that there's really no change, or that we don't have that many year-round homes that are now being used as short-term rentals, I think that that there's probably not much we need to do, but if we see that we have 700, let's use some really big, not realistic numbers right now. So let's say we have 700 of our single-family homes that are working as short-term rentals for a majority of the year. We might be concerned that that's displacing people from who might otherwise volunteer as firefighters. So it's really about just setting a baseline for data, understanding if there's something that catches our attention, or if there's not, because we see there are communities across the state that are regulating. And our recommendation is not that we regulate it, but it's to determine what is happening in our community.
Just playing devil's advocate. So how would this, Winthrop has a long history of having seasonal housing, our population, doubles, if not more in the summertime. How would this be any different than, how would a short-term rental really impact any different than a seasonal camp?
So I think if we
In that
think,
sense, I guess.
yeah, if we think about seasonal camps as doing two different things, right? If we think about a seasonal camp as a camp that is not meant for year-round habitation, right? It is unlikely that that property will serve a family or will take the opportunity from serving a family. If we think about year-round homes, and I think this is done in the context of recognizing that seasonal housing is something that is core to the culture here. But it's how do we then think about, I was reading an article this weekend about upstate New York, and they described it as there's nobody around to do the Richard Scarry jobs. If you all remember Richard Scarry books, and there are the firefighters and the police officers and the teachers and the mechanics walking around the cover. When you hit a certain critical max of short-term rentals within a community, there's no longer place for the people to live that would otherwise be working within the community. And this is not about saying that's where we're at. It's about saying, one, what does it look like? Let's set a baseline. We know that this has happened, but what's a baseline in 2026? And then if it feels, right, maybe that's where the vibes come in. If it feels outsized or undersized, then we say, and let's a year do another study and see what the trend is. Maybe it's staying flat and we just didn't have we didn't right size our feelings to begin with. But if it moves, maybe we say, that's not great, right? So Ellsworth, Maine at one point was identified as the best investment opportunity for short-term rental owners. And they saw I don't want to misquote a statistic, but at one point they were anticipating it was roughly 40% of their housing stock had shifted. Because as we know, Mount Desert Island has historically been a vacation spot. People lived on Ellsworth, commuted in for work, and then just the trends shifted. So just giving us a way to be aware and prepared.
Linda, go ahead.
The taxes, and we saw this during legislative session, people came up and testified because of the taxes in the state, people are doing short-term rentals to try to help pay for those taxes.
Yeah.
And a lot of elderly are doing this because they cannot afford stay in their homes. So to that extent, that is an issue here that we've got to be cognizant of, because if somebody needs to stay in their home and rent it out for 2-3 weeks a year, I don't care.
And again, I think that's why we're talking about the nuance here, that there's a big difference between somebody renting their home out for the summer, right? Earn some money, and yeah, right, whatever it is, whether it's, you take all your time in one chunk or another chunk, as long as the primary concern here is identifying homes that are being lost, or would be to identify homes that are being lost to the market, not somebody who is using their home as a primary residence.
Again, I guess kind of playing devil's advocate, kind of playing on what Linda was saying. A lot of those homes that are short-term rentals 20, 30, 40 years ago were nothing but seasonal homes anyway. So really, I mean, we've added, I suppose any of them, maybe they're reclaiming them as seasonal homes or short-term rentals instead of seasonal homes. But I mean, it's gone, the trend, I would likely think that it maybe 10 years ago, before the whole VRBO and that whole boom. Yeah, I mean, I can see both ways, but I would be not real thrilled with kind of directing people that have purchased property, pay taxes on property, all that stuff on what to do with their property.
And again, this recommendation is not saying to implement an ordinance and implement use guidelines, implement fines or fees, right? It is to just determine and just gather data and see what is it. And I think I was talking to a city planner, and one of the things they did when they went through a process, they did regulate short-term rentals in their community, but one of the things they did was they invited owners of short-term rentals in. And we are a much smaller community, and I think we could do that. And if you know that John's coming in and talking about their family who has owned this, and sure, they converted their 3-season camp to a 4-season home, but it's never been a primary residence. That's really different than 5 homes being lost on lakefront property that was historically primary residences. And again, this is just to get a baseline of data, not to.
Zach?
I'd actually like to see the data just to see. I think it's valuable. I just want to see like some sort of, I don't know if we would come up with it, or if you guys would propose the plan to the town to recommend how to take that data, but just some sort of a fixed time frame so we can kind of see the trend, right? And then that would at least allow that data to be like, okay, well, we've seen year 1, it was a spike of 50, but then it dropped 25, right? So rather than year to year, kind of willy nilly, because I would agree. I think there's stuff you can do, and I think I've seen other towns do it, like fees and stuff, but how much of it do you do, and do you want to, if there's, yeah, bingo. Yeah. So it's complicated, but I want to see the data though, because like you said, if there are 700, that changes things for sure, for me at least.
Aaron?
I was just going to make a couple comments. I would probably maybe shift away from focusing strictly on the short-term rentals and maybe, looking at a housing stock assessment. And also I wouldn't limit it to short-term rentals. I would look at commercial property in town, in particular, where we did the mapping and looking at where we wanted to direct or focus, whatever, and see how that effect would be in those specific areas. Just like the stuff that Pat Ladd had presented to us in those maps.
Yeah.
You recall what I'm saying?
I remember maps.
Yep, good, okay. And then, even, undevelopable areas that would have a similar impact, because it would put a harder strain on already existing infrastructure versus potential sites of future infrastructure.
This is an unrelated question. So you have a meeting once a month.
Once a month.
How many individuals in the community have attended your meetings?
No guests so far.
Okay, I saw
That's a
under,
lie. Penny Price showed up one time, but Penny's a friend of the committee.
okay, because I saw under your strategy identification, so committee members bring forward 5 strategies. Under subject matter expertise, individuals have been invited. I didn't know if there was some way that maybe the town can collect some survey data from the community on how the town is best implementing strategies, or what the town feels is a good direction that we could be going. I mean, we have the farmer's market now on Thursdays. Do we have like a town tent that we could put up? I'd gladly go down after work and go sit down there and survey people. I mean, if the implementation committee could put together a good survey, I'd be happy to go down there and hand it out, even at T-ball on Saturdays, something like that, just to get a good feel from the community, a little bit more community input. I don't know.
I do it instead of work.
I'll send you down.
Yeah.
I'll be sitting down there in the chair.
Yeah.
We'll certainly take Anthony's volunteering for that. Aaron, I think to your point, there are other metrics that we could use if this was just one portion of the housing stock that we wanted to have a conversation about and start the conversation and maybe a more direct and actionable item. That recommendation. I think the other thing, Aaron, we could do is I know Shannon has done in the past, is look at homestead exemptions to try and get an understanding of how many residences or homes, housing units are being used as primary residences, and we could overlay that in a couple different ways.
Maybe it'd be nice to identify those who haven't thought to benefit from it.
Anything.
Well, you know, it occurred to me as Steve was talking, I think our assessor could be a resource for gathering some of this data, particularly as they're going to be reevaluating every single property in town. They may be able to identify year-round camps versus, those that are just seasonal in nature.
Is there anything that we could do to help you, the implementation committee?
There are many things. I think one of them would be clear guidance on whether, maybe tonight is too soon, but guidance on whether you'd like the committees to undertake these committees or staff to undertake these activities. Making sure people are aware that we're having conversations and that we meet on the second Thursday of each month.
Okay.
I get 2 alerts, one a week early to put out an agenda and then the day before to show up. But making sure people are aware that we're available and we want their feedback and they can participate in the public portion of the meetings. We meet in the small room typically. But I think we'll also take suggestions if you see what we're talking about and you'd like us to contemplate something, please feel free to provide feedback in your formal council chair hat or as your community member hat.
Is this just kind of reminded me of something else too, but along the same lines? Is Anthony, is there a way to, like, I know the city of Augusta, which I like watching a lot of their stuff too, but they somehow get it so it streams live on their Facebook. Is there some way to implement something like that where so people will see it come up? Do we know?
I'll have to explore that.
Maybe you could just see how Augusta does their media stuff.
Okay.
We have a bigger budget, but it might be interesting to see if there's more ways to broadcast stuff too.
I'll just be sitting here in a meeting liking everything I say.
Get those ratings out.
I'll do some Zoom research to see if Zoom interfaces with Facebook. What a sad life those people must have.
Steve, thank you for I for one, I haven't said much on this, but I kind of wait here to the end, but I think I'm interested in the data so we can formulate a plan. I mean, I think it's important. I think keeping homes and shops open to some of the points I never really thought of. So I really appreciate those ideas. I don't know if I'm sold one way or another, but I do appreciate that kind of, so I can chew on it for a little bit and kind of maybe evaluate and come up with some ideas of my own. So that's great. So appreciate that.
Yeah, I appreciate the feedback and that's something that we're thinking about as a committee is, right, we don't want to make a recommendation for a policy unless there's really clear data that says this is important, this is not important, this is changing, this is negatively impacting, or this is positively impacting. But it's more, how do we get to a place where we understand what's going on and not we think we know, and some things you can see and some things you can't see, and some things feel outsized, and then you take a look at it. So just want to say thanks for the opportunity to talk with you all this evening.
Appreciate it as always. Thank you, Steve.
If I can add one other thing, Jim, I think this is a really thoughtful approach that this committee is taking, and not that that's a surprise when you have people like Steve and Whitney and Pat Savory, even Tim Adams involved. So I really appreciate the real thoughtfulness that's going into your work.
All right, guess it's back to me. I'm gonna kind of recollect myself. Okay. Items 116, consideration of May 2026 disbursement warrants. Wow. Okay. Am I in the right spot, guys? Just make sure I'm.
Yes.
You
Okay,
are.
Thank you.
Can we table that?
Second.
Okay.
Table that.
Motion to table that, and I got a second. All in favor? No, Zach seconded. So all in favor. Thank you, guys. Move on to items 1174, consideration of recommendations from the appointments committee. Okay.
Have you had a chance to go through? Are you prepared to make a recommendation? That's right. It's for a 1.5 year application. Goes until this. Good? All right. I'll make a motion to confirm the recommendation. Oh, excuse me. I will make a motion for Tracy Hovance and Steve Mayers to serve on the planning board with a partial term for expiration of December 31st, 2027.
So clarification, at this exact moment, we have one opening on the planning board, and then we have two alternate positions. So I think you guys are going to have to determine which of these two people you'd rather assign to the
Board and one is the alternate.
correct.
But we know that it will have another opening July.
Well, what I might say,
We just have to make temporary arrangements.
what I might suggest is when that actually occurs, then the alternate could then apply to
move to
become a voting member.
Yes, please go ahead,
My
Aaron.
thoughts would be that we want to make sure that we are preserving the technical information or institutional knowledge and also technical knowledge required. I know that the ones that I've considered resigning are very technical, and also Brent, who's moved to, which is this position here, I believe, right? The full-time is Brent,
right.
who's moved, is very technical. He worked, I think, for DEP or for the state. So my recommendation would be that Mr. Mayers may be the permanent member and Tracy be the alternate would be my recommendation.
I'm fine. Will you just say Tracy would be appointed in July 31st?
As an alternate?
Well, she'll be appointed as an alternate to take the position that will be vacant. No.
There's no alternates. There's no
No,
alternates. at
We're
the
going to
moment.
go two down and we have no alternates.
So
Well,
I
normally,
would think, I would think we're going to appoint one as the alternate, one
Right.
on the board. And then when that comes vacant, we can sit here and have another quick discussion saying we'll
well, we
move,
don't even,
we can
that's
we
an
move Tracy
automatic.
over under the board.
That's an automatic thing. If you're an alternate, someone quits, you become permanent.
We go.
Okay?
Yeah. Anthony, do you have
All right.
anything to add to that? Is that,
So I'll do that.
hold on, I'd like to, Anthony's.
I'll make a motion that we approve Steve Mayers immediately to start on the planning board. And then we approve Tracy Hovance to be an alternate until such time as there's an expected vacancy, should be around July 31st.
Alternate would not be a partial term.
No, she can, I'm assuming Tracy, she can come as an alternate and start to gain some knowledge. So we just need a second, get this over with.
So you're saying that Tracy will then become a.
Yeah, it's automatic.
So it's with all,
Yes,
yeah,
please.
it's
Anthony, go
not
ahead.
automatic. So because Deb and I have had this discussion and she said, once a seat becomes vacant, then they would have to apply for it because we have had alternates in the past who were happy just serving as alternates and didn't want to move into the permanent position
Well,
when it
you're-
became open.
You're correct, but I've been doing this with the planning board and the zoning board for 30 years. And typically what happens is if someone decides to leave the board, the alternates are asked if they want to become permanent members. And they can agree or decline. But normally an alternate won't hang around to be an alternate, because as an alternate, you get to talk, you get to express your opinion, you just don't get to vote. Okay? So we don't have to, as a council, appoint an alternate to a permanent position. That's what the board does. We don't have any say in that whatsoever. That's the way it works. It's the way it's been working. Well, we'd come back to the appointments committee then. And then we would make a recommendation again. That works.
Going to rescind my original motion.
Okay.
Seconded.
Yeah.
I did.
So that was to appoint Stephen Maris to the planning.
Right. Correct. And then when Tracy gets to, if Tracy Hovance decides to move up, then you and I and Linda will have to, yeah,
I was just, discussion purposes.
that works.
For the appointments committee, that when you do meet, to make sure that you really do thoroughly vet all of the candidates, just so we make sure we have a really good planning board, because that's,
Oh, we will. I mean, it's, sometimes you have hard choices to make. I did this one. I was the appointments committee chair right through COVID, and that
So-
got interesting.
So I got a motion. I got a second. So let's move on to the vote. There's no other discussion. So all in favor?
We're good.
All in favor. Thank you.
My God, we got through that one.
All right, moving on to other business. Do we have any public comment? You know, I just realized I didn't say that at the beginning. Yeah, you know, but
Good to see you.
You did, and I probably should have mentioned this during the local economy, but we didn't talk about it as a committee. I was thinking about this. Both my kids are wrapping up the baseball and t-ball season. Yukon Cottage's t-ball team was undefeated once again. Great coaching, great group of kids.
bravo.
But, thank you. But I was thinking about this while talking about local economy. There's 22 baseball, softball, and t-ball teams that were all sponsored by local businesses and all coached by local teams, local parents and adults. And I think when you think about the number of local businesses who invested in this season alone, it was less than 22 businesses, because some businesses sponsor 2 or 3 teams. Yukon Cottage's minor league baseball also undefeated this year. But there's just a tremendous amount. I think oftentimes there's conversations about people not being involved or needing more people on committees. There's just a tremendous amount of people who care deeply and invest their time and energy and money into the kids throughout town. And I just really wanted to highlight and thank the businesses and parents that are taking times out of their schedules to show up and make sure these kids have a really great time enjoying the best of spring, even if they're getting a little hot last Saturday's game and we could only get 2 innings in. So just wanted to say thanks to everybody. And if any of you sponsor teams, thanks for that.
Thank you, Stephen. I think that's a great segue because, you know, we have a great community. Kennebec Savings used to do it all, especially when my kids came up through and they did it all. But now it's gone back to the local businesses, and I really appreciate people stepping up and getting involved. So, the bad news bears. All right. So, any other public comment? Not seeing any. Let's go to the manager's report. Anthony, the floor is yours.
So this was mentioned a little earlier, but the farmer's market has begun. It's small but mighty. And I highly recommend the sourdough goods at the farmer's market. So 2 to 6 each Thursday. So y'all pop by and make sure that they're a success.
Wonderful.
I sent you an email about this last week, but it bears repeating. The clerks did a really outstanding job on election day. I mean, the fact that we had results faster than anyone else in the area is simply amazing. And so when you see them next to an Atta girl would be in order, I believe. Chief Brooks and I are working on an assistance for firefighters grant application for the fire truck. Do not hold your breath. We're going to give it the old college try.
Thank you.
There's a sheet, in fact, just sitting there in front of Zach for the LPC vote. So if you would sign that and vote for Anthony Wilson, the vote would be greatly appreciated. So I also sent you some information last week about Bowden Street and the sewer project that's going to, or water line project that's going to occur there. And so Aaron Chase, the superintendent at the utility district, has offered to come to the next meeting on July 6th to answer any questions you might have. Can I assume that you guys would like to hear from him and
Please.
And ask him some questions? Okay, very good.
Really good.
can it be a little bit more broader?
Sure. Sure. Also, some things I've, just to reiterate that I've emailed to you, but we're looking for at least one more member of the Board of Assessment Review. Shannon sent a suggestion to me, and I've reached out to to that person. We need that because we're facing an appeal that we need to have a minimum of 3 members. And if we had 2 alternates to go along with that, that'd be fantastic. And here's a selling point is that no one can actually remember the last time the Board of Assessment Review met. So it's a really easy committee assignment to serve your community. Yes. Also, as you know now, the town of Monmouth approved the consolidation of the police department. And so Chief Erlin and I have been talking a lot about that over the last few days. So we're going to start the hard work of making that happen. We talked about also on July the 6th, we're going to bring to you some, and I already sent this to you so that you could begin looking at it, changes to the solar ordinance. And there are some other land use tweaks that that the planning board has approved. So hopefully you will approve that, or you'll at least consider it on July the 6th. We'll extend the moratorium on the group homes with that carve out for the senior living that we discussed at the last meeting. And then I mentioned a little earlier about data centers. So we had a really good conversation. I guess that was just last week with State Representative Tavis Hassenfuss. And I asked him about what his sort of prognostication was on what the state may do with data centers in the coming year, because as you know, there was a moratorium that was passed statewide, but was vetoed by the governor because it lacked a carve out for a specific project that was already underway. And so I think it's, as Steve pointed out earlier, we don't want to end up in the same situation with data centers that we ended up with solar farms, where they started sprouting up and we were sort of flat-footed as far as how to regulate those. We could pass a moratorium. At most, that would cover a year, but I have spoken with the executive director of KV-COG, and they are working on some model ordinances for towns to consider. And so if you think the timing is right, we could also bring a moratorium ordinance at the July 6th meeting to cover data centers as well, and then start working with KV-COG in order to start considering some regulations that we could work into our land use ordinance. Yeah, and I'm sure that there must be land use ordinances in other communities. I mean, because these things are, and not necessarily in Maine, but in other states, because these things are starting to proliferate. You know, hopefully there will be a day in the future. You know, one of the things that was mentioned during SpaceX's IPO last week was launching data centers into space and having them run off solar. And I thought that was a really interesting idea. And then we wouldn't have all these sort of environmental issues on tariff.
Great.
Worry about. Okay, so we'll work on a data center moratorium for you as well. What do you want our meeting schedule to look like after July 6th? So, well, what are your thoughts?
Well, I'm wondering if, you mean, July 6th is sort of tailing right after the holiday, but it's in people's vacations and people are gone. I don't know if we need another one in July, and then we only do one in August, kind of slow it down for the summer. And then we can kind of then ramp it back up in September. So that would be my thoughts. So I mean, let me jump in it. Yeah. So, I mean, I'm happy to we keep July 6th. I know Zach won't be around, but if we could actually move, if you guys want to do middle of August, if you wanted to do that one, if Lynn's going to be gone, but they're tough months for everybody. But I think we could have a quorum, enough people. But I think just one meeting each of those months, I think would probably be sufficient. Yeah, I think it's good. Yeah, I think no matter what we do, we're gonna lose some people. So I think once a month for the summer would be fine, and then.
Can make.
Me too. So I'm just saying we can right now we'll just keep them at the first of the first of the month. And then if we can't do it, then we'll have to have that discussion. You're still going to lose out. So I just think let's just keep, so that's your proposal. You guys, you're not going to be here, Roy, Shannon, Aaron. Okay.
Okay.
And then,
So we'll just meet on the
Thank you.
first Mondays in July and August.
perfect.
Okay. So that meeting in August will probably have some representatives from the ambulance advisory group. They'd like to come and make a pitch to you guys. So, and then lastly, offices will be closed on Friday. It's Juneteenth. That's all I have.
Great. Thank you so much. Let's move on to the council's comment. Roy?
I have not spoken to Bill Sullivan recently because I've been very engaged with this one. But I will make a note.
Thank you.
The gazebo, all the rails are pointed.
Zach?
I guess, yeah, I guess I got another thing, but Taylor, couldn't we just put like fake cameras up with signs at first?
We tried that. They got
They
ripped
did.
down.
They did. Okay. All right. That's good to know. So sorry. I do think cameras would be important. I can hear over at sometimes I do hear the kids. I can hear right from my house across the water, and they're over there at like 1 a.m, and like, who's doing that? So
The PD.
I've seen them over there though. I have seen them scanning. So
There's no gate.
Yeah.
yeah, it sounds like kids though. Point is I think, yeah, obviously Anthony, you've been busy with other things. So, but eventually we should look into that. July 6th, I won't be here. I'll be in Hawaii on my honeymoon. But I am in favor.
Don't rub it in.
So, I am in favor of the data centers, and we really should pursue that. I'd like to see it pursued because there's not a lot of information out there. There's a lot of stuff that they're going to have to do from a generation electricity wise, like leave water out of it. And so I think it's really crucial for the town. A place like Maine with as much land we have available is going to be an area that people do. And if the state adds in any sort of subsidized tax incentives, it's going to get crazy. So we got to protect ourselves as a town. And that's pretty much all I had. So, yeah.
Thank you, Zach. Aaron?
No.
He's in favor of having it
We
reviewed.
need to, no, we need to pause because there's so much here. Yeah. They take so much load so there's two things. One, like CMP, the ISO has to study these to figure out what the impact really is, right? And then the second part is that if you can't provide enough generation for those centers, then they're going to have generation on site. And that's what they're talking about, nuclear and stuff. And that changes a lot of things. So how do you stop it? I think Steve said, let's define it. Let's get it situated so that way we can box ourselves in, because it's going to get the terminology and everything's going to get thrown around. They're going to change it. I just see it coming down the road here, and it will be the next thing in line. So,
Aaron?
So I have had, I think, 2 community members ask me, mention to consider a couple like ordinance type things. One was for e-bikes or e-scooters, because they've been, I guess, going downtown and not like all over the place. A couple of them almost got hit. I don't know, something, but that's becoming, and I've seen it a couple times when I've gone down to Subway that it's getting dusk and they're down and scooting around traffic. So that might be something to talk to Chief Ferland about. And then the other one was like those post-it signs that people put up everywhere for businesses the issue, there was an resident concerned about 133 and 41, about whether or not we should be regulating that as well.
Are you talking about like the campaign style signs?
Yeah, but for like businesses and stuff like that, they get put
Yeah.
up and never
I'll have to
taken
check
down.
with DOT. I mean, I think that's in the DOT right
That's
away.
a
and I don't think
DOT
we
right
have,
away, yeah,
I don't
but
think we have any
do you
jurisdiction.
see them like last year before the last storm? I picked up, I know, over 50 before the plows went out. Because I didn't think they should have to be doing that, but, so there might be something to think about that.
Linda?
Something really quick. Vault's open those Saturdays. There is a food truck that parks right before the crosswalk. And people cannot see when there's people right there. That is an accident waiting to happen. I mean, I was down there Saturday. There were 2 cars in front of me. There was somebody literally right around I mean, they had to, and they're not going fast. It's just a matter of they can't see the people in the walkway because that truck is right there. So
Is the truck in a parking stall?
it's probably in 2 parking stalls. I really don't know. I'm just saying it is,
The size of it.
you can't see beyond it. You know, and it's just I know it's a walkway, but again, you know how people are, they just dart out and, you know, even if it's very slow, slam on those brakes. Right, literally when you see those people.
Yep.
Kind
Yep.
of sketchy.
Understood.
So
Thank you.
maybe we should just put out a public service announcement encouraging people not to step into this crosswalk until the cars are stopped.
Yeah,
That's how, well, it's how Anthony Wilson operates and he hadn't been hit by a car yet. So
Andy?
Food truck, bringing up the food truck thing. Last few times, I know at least one business that quit, okay, because they couldn't compete with the food truck, and I'm sure. You know, we allow food trucks in town, are we shooting ourselves in the foot and competing with our own local businesses? I don't have a direct opinion on that, but it's something to think about.
I think
We just lost a business. Anything we can do to support business, we're better off and.
All right.
And it was.
yeah, that was, I think, Blooms and Bake. Is that what it's called, or Bacon Blooms? But I think they relocated somewhere here in town, didn't they? Yeah.
Thank you. Anybody else? I got one quick pressing item. And I could take it to you offline, but can you write this down? I was out the other day and I launched a boat and then I noticed one of our dock pieces has drifted over into the corner of the culvert heading out and needs to be reined back in if you haven't already.
Is it a piece of the dock or was it that loading platform?
It's a piece of the dock.
Really?
It's the first dock that if you're going down the ramps, the first dock on the left, the closest to the shore. I happened to look over there and I saw this tan piece that's stuck over into the culvert.
So just have.
It's been in there since I put my boat in and I said it's missing and maybe they're repairing it. And then all of a sudden I saw it there just this weekend. I'm like, hey, that's where it went. So it's up in the cove. If you guys need help, I can help, whatever, but just drag it back. But it's, somebody's gonna have to probably reattach it and whatever's happened to. There we go.
Yes, we have saved several lives with that.
So anyway, that's just a quick thought. It's missing and there's no sense of letting it float around the lake because it's just become a hazard. So
Okay,
thank you.
I appreciate the heads up.
Yep.
Well, if the water gets too low there,
It's gonna be more difficult to get it. They're gonna be using the excavator to bring it back up on shore. So, all right, let's,
move that we go into executive session pursuant to 1 MRSA, Section 4056A, personnel matters, town manager's contract.
second.
all in favor? All are in favor. Thank you, everybody, for coming. You too. All right. Door closed up. Back. Make sure the door gets shut. These two little hens over here talking, so you guys good? We're live.
I'd like to make a motion that we move to amend the town manager's contract as proposed.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. All are in favor? Oh, discussion. Sorry. Thank you, Andy. Okay, please.
I don't plan to vote in favor. I would agree to 2.5% per year without the stipend. So if we're going this way, I'm going to be negative on it.
Okay. Anybody else? Any other discussion?
No, so that was in the original contract. I just highlighted that so you guys could see that that's actually been part of my contract, but it's not something that I have taken advantage of in order to save the taxpayers money. So anytime that I plan on going to that, you'll know about it well in advance so that we can obviously budget for it and you can approve the budget.
There. Oh, we had a motion and a second, and all in favor? 6 are in favor. All opposed? 1 opposed? All right, motion passed. Thank you.
Second.
All in favor? We're out.
2.
That whole thing, was that whole thing in executive session?
Yeah, if y'all will.
Yeah. Okay.